Good afternoon, students. This is Arindam Bagh here. Today our topic is Hound of Baskervilles by Arthur Conan Doyle. So, in our previous presentation, in my previous presentations, I have explained the chapter of summary of first 11 chapters. We have already prepared presentation on that, and it is been available in my YouTube channel. So please visit or see those videos if you want any explanation. So today our concern chapter is chapter 12, and the headline of this chapter is death on the moor. That means someone will die over here. So who is supposed to die? So let us find out what happens here. So what happens? Watson quickly realizes, I told you that in chapter 11 there was a cliffhanger. Someone knocked Watson, and the chapter closes there. And it was not told to us who is that person. An unknown person knocked Watson in his back, and it was not mentioned to us who is that person. And Arthur Conan Doyle used a successful technique here so that reader might see the next chapter over here. So what happens? Watson quickly realizes that it was Holmes, and he was greeting him. So Watson was wondering how the detective found the hut and why was he hiding on the moor. Holmes was not supposed to be there, na? Holmes told Watson to keep eye on everything, and he was supposed to watch everything closely and report back to Holmes. But in this case we found it was not like that. So Holmes explains that he saw Watson's brand of cigarette stubbed out near the hut. As per Holmes' presence in the hut on the moor in Devonshire, the detective explains that he hid so the enemies would not know of his direct involvement. So he was in disguise, and he kept himself in a very low profile while watching everyone very closely. Even Watson didn't realize also that Holmes is inside the moor and is staying there. Watson thought that he was working as the detective over here, and he had his own conclusion. But Holmes lied to Watson. He says, so that no one would discover him. Should Watson decide to compare notes or bring his masters some food, suddenly upset that his reports went to waste. That Watson, whatever report he prepared, it's in a complete waste. It's nothing right. Watson learns that Holmes actually had them forwarded and has kept them close at hand. While recounting the day's visit to Combe Tracy, Watson learns from Holmes that Laura and Mr. Stapleton, they are close, they share close relationship, and that Beryl, the woman masquerading as Stapleton's sister, is actually his wife. Shocked at this revelation, the doubting Watson demands proof, and Holmes tells of his own investigation into Stapleton's past and his career as a schoolmaster up north. So Stapleton is a very dubious character. The appearance and reality of Stapleton is quite different. So he presented Beryl as his sister, but actually she is his wife. And Stapleton, it becomes clear, is the enemy they have been after. And he has been using his wife cum sister to get at Sir Henry and Laura Loynes. He seduced Lyons and used her to lure Charles onto the moor. In this part, you might be wondering, or we might be wondering, why Stapleton is after this Baskerville family. That will be also disclosed in this presentation afterwards. So Watson and Holmes decided to visit Laura Loynes because they got a lead in this case, to tell her of Stapleton's ruse and hopefully to sift her loyalties. Meanwhile, a sudden scream is heard on the moor, and upon investigation they discover the body of Sir Henry. It appears to be Sir Henry. Relax, he is not Sir Henry. There's a twist in here. Or what appears to be a body in his clothes. Why it is like that? Someone is wearing Sir Henry's clothes. So you remember Sir Henry handed over some old apparels to Barrymore, isn't it? And Barrymore already accepted that his brother-in-law, who is a convict, who escaped the prison, he is in the mood, he is waiting for a ship which will take him to South America. Pretty obvious that he has given those dress which was handed over to him by Sir Henry to his brother-in-law Selden. As it turns out, Barrymore delivered a bunch of old clothes to the convict. It's been clear. The hound had snipped Henry's stolen boot back in London. You remember that Sir Henry lost his boot in London and had attacked the right clothes on the wrong man. The dog, their smelling power is much more higher. They are very much strong, and they sniff it out that who is this person, and the hound has been trained to do so, to sniff a person's smell, and it is trained whenever it get any chance to attack that person, it will do that. So in this case also, Selden was actually wearing the clothes of Sir Henry. Sir Henry was the target. So just then Stapleton shows up. After the death of Selden, after it has been found Selden is dead, Stapleton shows up, assuming that the dead man is Henry. He was pretty much sure that it must be Henry because the man is wearing the dress of Henry. When he discovers the truth, he stammers, who is this? As if he doesn't know. When Watson wonders why the naturalist assumed it was Sir Henry, Stapleton admits it was because he had asked him to come over. So why he would do so? Why he would ask Sir Henry to meet him? Holmes diffuses the situation by suggesting that the convict Selden must have fallen and broken his neck and goes on to hell. He told Stapleton he intends to go home tomorrow, since he is not interested in the myths that plague the particular case. Suspicious but reassured, Stapleton goes home and detectives head for the hall. So this is chapter 12, Death on the Moor. So who died over here? Selden died over there. Why he died? How he died? The hound attacked him. Why the hound attacked him? Because Selden was wearing the dress or clothes of Sir Henry. And what's wrong about it? Sir Henry is the target over here. Previously, his uncle, Sir Charles, was also killed by the hound. It has been said by the hound, but actually he died out of fear. And in this case also, Sir Charles is the target. Previously, you have seen someone been sending some sort of warning notes to him, and accidentally or in out of situation, Sir Henry handed over his old clothes, and unfortunately that those clothes ended up to Selden. Selden used it and the hound attacked him. So that's it. Death on the Moor. It's the death of Selden, the convict criminal. Now chapter 13, we have fixing the nets. Walking and talking on their way home, Watson and Holmes marvel at the self-control of their enemy, who held his tongue even after it became clear his hound had killed the wrong man. So it has been clear the hound belongs to Stapleton, but somehow he managed and he acted smartly. They wonder now that the villain has seen Holmes whether he will become more cautious or more desperate. Now it has been clear to us that who might be the villain or who is behind this. So there are two chances. Either the character will be very much cautious, or rather he will be desperate. Watson suggests that they arrest him at once. They arrest him at once. So they were planning for something like that. But Holmes says that it's still yet to be established the proof they need for conviction. It is easy to arrest someone, but to prove that he is guilty, that is difficult. Holmes has hope for tomorrow's interview with Lyons, but he also claims to have another plan in the work. He tells Watson not to tell Henry of Selden's death and insists that he excuse himself from the dinner he and Henry were to attend at Stapleton's the next day. So, after some light conversation with Sir Henry and the sad announcement of Selden's death to his sister, Holmes spies a portrait on the wall and learns that the thin cavalier in question is none other than Hugo Baskerville himself. So, Hugo Baskerville is one of that person who has been cast, who was killed by a hound. Later that night, Holmes explains his interest to Watson, demonstrating the remarkable similarity between Hugo and Stapleton. He found something after watching the picture of Hugo Baskerville, and he himself saw Stapleton. He finds some similarities there. What is that similarity? And then he realized somehow Hugo Baskerville and Stapleton, they are connected to each other, and thus establishing Stapleton's motive as a Baskerville relative. That's why he is after the Baskerville lineage. He wants every Baskerville person, or rather related to that family. If they are dead, then he will get the property. Then the story we find, which was previously it was a mysterious story. Some sort of supernatural things were there. But later on we found, or in this chapter it has been clear to us, that it is not a mystery or any supernatural issue, rather it is a property related issue. Stapleton has designs on the inheritance, so that's why he is doing so. So the next morning, Holmes handles the removal of Selden's body. Selden died earlier, and tells Sir Henry to keep his dinner appointment with Stapleton. And he excused himself and Watson. They said, we are not going to attend this dinner. Holmes tells the baronet that he and his friend are going to London, as if they are not in this place. So that means what? Stapleton will feel, well, Holmes and Watson is not here, so he can do whatever he likes. But actually, he is actually tricking Stapleton. And they act in a way that they are going to London. And though Sir Henry is understandably alarmed, yes, he should be, because he has seen a death there, Holmes tells him to trust him. Any good detective will do so. Sir Henry was quite assured that Holmes will do something, but still he had some doubt in his mind. So Holmes tells him to trust him. He also insists that the baronet deliver the same message to Stapleton, and that he walk home alone across the moor after dinner. So all the things has been arranged. So we can assume that Holmes and Watson, they are not going to London. They are going to keep a very sharp eye on Mr. Henry, and they planned that Stapleton, after the dinner, Sir Henry should walk alone across the moor after dinner. So later that day at the train station, Holmes sends Cartwright back to London with instruction to send a wire from London. He told Cartwright, go to London and send me a telegram in Holmes' name to Sir Henry that we have reached here. Holmes hears from another man, Lestrade, whom he intends to enlist later that night. So meanwhile, Holmes and Watson head over to Laura Lyons' place, I told you earlier, and Holmes tells her of Stapleton's secret marriage. Shocked and visibly upset, Laura demands proof. Laura thought about Stapleton, and she thought that Stapleton will continue a relationship, a legal way, probably marry her. So Laura demands proof, and Holmes produced a photo of husband and wife. Laura was devastated after seeing this. She has already been married. She was looking for some kind of help from Sir Charles, and Stapleton also helped her. Now it appears that Stapleton seduced her. So Laura spills the beans. Stapleton had offered to marry her. Here it is. See here, the lineage of Hugo Baskerville has been continued over here. He was also after that girl, and here Stapleton, who is married, and still he seduced Laura Lyons, and Stapleton offered to marry her if she got a divorce, an endeavor that would require Sir Charles' assistance. The naturalist wrote Laura's letter to Charles and then insisted she miss the appointment, suggesting that himself would pay the expenses. Stapleton even convinced Laura to keep quiet, telling her that she might get in trouble. So this is the entire picture we are having. The villain is actually Stapleton. So analysis, what we have here, after a long period of narration by Watson, the return of Holmes, like the unexpected appearance of the convict can seem a bit jarring, whereas Watson left things a bit looser and more uncertain. After Holmes arrives, there is no more mystery left to solve. When he suddenly announces who the criminal are, we are left wondering how he solved the puzzle. This is the very essence of every detective story we find this style here. In this section, we learn that Stapleton is the culprit and that in effect, all our speculation were useless since we did not have the key piece of information. Stapleton's identity and marital status. This was not known to us. That's why we were unable to judge who that person is. This allows the mystery to move much more quickly since Holmes knows what he is doing, how to get information out of people, and how to piece together the clues. The events follow one after the another, and the denouement comes at an appropriate pace. If Watson's clue gathering allowed us a chance to participate, Holmes' tight-lipped detection builds up the suspense over even after the mystery is solved after the Holmes. After what so Holmes will do to catch the criminal. This section also recalls the themes of mistaken identity and entitlement. Obviously, the identity of Stapleton. First, the convict is mistaken for Sir Henry because he is in clothes, and as a result, the hound attacks him. So, also Holmes observes Stapleton's close resemblance to Hugo Baskerville. The villain noble birth seems to make sense because he feels like he is entitled to a large sum of money. Similarly, Beryl's rejection of Henry makes more sense since she is not a lower class woman rejecting a higher class man, but rather she is someone is already taken. At the same time, this section reveals Holmes' own game of disguised identity. Holmes shows that he, a gentleman, lived like a convict. He looked for food and lived in a bare bones dwelling, even though Holmes also had clean collars and a willing helper boy. The boy still asks how Holmes could have managed in such dire conditions. So that will be all for today. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and subscribe my channel. Thank you.